Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another fantastic episode of The Left Wing. I am TJ Whitehead, power staken not given, joined as always by John Cooper Paz of Counterpoint Politics. How are you doing today, my friend?
Doing great, TJ. Today is one of those days where you just get shot out of a cannon and you don't stop. That's how I am today. I'm just hopped up on my ADHD all the fucking way. So I'm ready to talk about whatever we want to talk about today. I don't know there's a lot of shit going on today. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but definitely let us know in the comments, as this is our Q&A show, if you have any questions for us.
So you have ADHD, John? I don't think I knew that.
Have I not told you that? Yeah, no, I have ADHD. Yeah.
Okay, how long you've been diagnosed?
I was diagnosed as an adult because I always got good grades, but would do things like do my homework and not turn it in. My parents get really pissed at me for it, and didn't occur to them that I might have ADHD when shit like that would happen.
Wait,
diagnosed out of college, actually.
What happened there? Like, why didn't you turn it in? Did you lose it?
Because I got distracted, DJ.
Oh,
because my fifth grade fucking math teacher wanted to teach responsibility and said, if you don't put your homework physically in this bin by the start of class, it doesn't count. And of course, I'm talking to people, whatever, and it's like, shit, I didn't do it. Well, too bad. Then I got a 0 in homework for a whole week.
Sounds like a great teacher who was trying to set you on a straight and narrow. That's what it sounds like to old TJ here.
All right, old man.
I see. Colby says, my two favorite Dons, Cheadle and Draper. That's pretty good, Colby.
That's pretty good. That's really good.
I like that. I was telling John that I forgot to do an intro. Actually, I didn't forget. I thought of one, but I forgot it later. And that reminds me of Mad Men, speaking of Don Draper. Do you remember the scene when Paul and Peggy are talking to Don about this pitch for an idea? And Paul's being all shaky and weird. And Don's like, what's wrong with you? He says, I had a great idea, but I didn't write it down and I forgot. And I expected Don to just tear into him. But instead, Don just, man, I hate when that happens. I thought that was great. That was a fantastic scene. And how it ended, too. Do you remember the slogan they came up with?
In that episode?
Yeah, the slogan was really good.
I do not remember.
The faintest ink is stronger than the greatest memory is what they went with for. They were trying to market telegrams and have people use telegrams instead of phone calls. I thought that was a really good line. That was a good pitch.
That's why Don Draper is Don Draper. That's why he
solid.
Makes the big bucks.
Solid shit. Yeah, I love me. We just finished Mad Men. My girlfriend and I. We finished season 7 the other day, and I don't know. I've said this about Mad Men before, that I like the individual episodes better than the whole story in total. All right, I'll ask you this, John. What do you think of the last scene of Mad Men when there's the Coke commercial? Because I hate it. I just. Oh, I'll let you go first.
People praise it. And by the way, for those who are confused, this is Left Wing Media Breakdown segment of the Left Wing Q&A. But if you have any political questions, definitely let us know. But yeah, I did not like it when I first watched the show. However, I watched it at a very different point in my life, and I have heard positive criticism of it a lot from people I respect. So that's honestly one of the reasons I wanted to rewatch, was a critique of a positive critique of the ending. That I was like, I did not read it that way. Let me rewatch this. And I'm definitely seeing way more depth in the show than when I watched it originally as a 15-year-old. It is wildly packed. And like you said, it's not a plot show. It just isn't a plot show. The plot of the show is mostly irrelevant. It is a character drama through and through. What actually happens is kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, its plot is pretty thin and non-existent. And Draper doesn't change a whole lot during the entire show, which bothers me. What annoyed me so much about the Coke commercial was he went to California ostensibly to be on this journey to find himself. You know, he just quit work. He drove across the country. He's doing these good deeds. He meets up with his niece, who chews him out and runs away from him and everything. And he joins this hippie commune. I said, okay, all right, Don has moved on behind the self-centered, materialistic admin. But as he's doing the hums and chants, you see a light bulb go off in his head, and you hear like the bells ringing, and then it switches to the Coke commercial, the campaign that he'd been working on. I said, this whole thing was just another soulless ruse to try to sell, liquid candy. I hate it. And also, I guess this is one of the most famous Coke commercials ever. I had never seen it until I watched Mad Men, but I don't even like the commercial. I don't find it. There are plenty of commercials in Mad Men that I love. That is not one of them.
That is not one of them. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. But again, I really don't want to even speak of it and bias my perception. I'm working my way relatively slowly through the show because I'm reading a book at the same time. And yeah, I know, but okay, this one is for work, so it's different. Right. But yeah, so that is that's my thoughts on that, man. I fucking love the show, fucking fantastic. Go watch it if you haven't. It is 100% worth a watch, and if you don't like it, it's probably because you have bad media literacy skills. Anyway, TJ, Greenland. I want to talk about Greenland. I want to talk about Greenland so fucking bad.
Let's go. Why not?
Because I learned today.
I think I know which fact you're gonna make. I hope it's the one I'm thinking of. But let's hear it.
I hope it is too. We already have a defensive pact with Norway that allows us to position military assets in Greenland at will. Like that, there is absolutely nothing stopping us right now from creating whatever Golden Dome, whatever defense system that Donald Trump is insinuating that we need Greenland for. We already have full legal rights to utilize Greenland for national defense. There's no fucking question about that. We do not need to own Greenland at all. And the response, when I pointed this out on Threads, TJ, the response that I got from Republicans was, well, if Europe wants us to defend Greenland, they should have to pay for it. And it's like, okay, that's a fine argument, but it is also inherently contradictory to the argument that we need Greenland for our own national defense. Because if we need Greenland for our own national defense, then it's not us fucking footing the bill for Europe. It's us doing it for ourselves. This is, of all of the crazy fucking Trump things, and there's a lot of them, this is the one that makes the least sense and has the highest stakes that are easily understandable to the average American. And it's just utterly insane that we are just letting this all happen. Like he is barreling towards World War III with our own allies. And that sounds like an impossible thing. Like I say it and it feels impossible. I say it and I'm like, oh, well, we can't actually live in the world where that happens. And I feel like all of America is in that same sort of dream state of like, oh yeah, well, that wouldn't actually happen, so I'm not worried about it. But all of the steps towards making it happen are taking place.
Yeah, that's the go-to argument whenever you pin down any right-wingers here that, hey, this is obviously, you cannot tell me that you genuinely think it's a good idea for the United States to even make the assertion, implication, or even suggestion that we could take Greenland by force. And it is wild that a head of state is boldly saying this. And their response is, well, it'll be good for us. And I think we could do it if we want to. And that's good enough for me. It reminds me of Venezuela when we were talking about how these folks have been saying, no new wars. We don't want any foreign interventions. We want to be isolationists now. And then you say, okay, well, the thing in Venezuela was about as much as a foreign intervention as you can possibly do. And what was the response they had? Well, it was fine. Like, no, none of our boys died and it was quick. So like, they don't actually have principles. Their principles are, can we get away with it? That's what it comes down to.
So I understand, TJ, like I understand that the general principle doesn't exist when it comes to what Trump is doing, what Republicans are doing in general. But I do think it exists for Americans, like the general population of America. That supports Trump, not the MAGA people, not the people who are paying attention, not really anyone, but in general, I think that we don't want to conquer territory through military conquest. I know that there is a small percentage of our population that does want that and think that's okay, but I would not make the wager that your average Trump voter even would say, yeah, it's cool to just take land through military conquest. They don't care about Venezuela because it's Venezuela. Who gives a shit? Mm-hmm. And at least in Venezuela, there's the ostensible argument that we eliminated a bad guy, which is sort of true. So like, there's that. With Greenland, there's not even a fucking argument. It is just what you're saying. Like the argument being explicitly made by the Trump administration is we should do it because we can. We should take Greenland from our ally because we have the military power to do so. That is what they are. Again, not exaggerating, not paraphrasing. That is what they are saying explicitly. Stephen Miller said that verbatim. So I don't know where the disconnect is. I just imagine people aren't hearing that or just like, Greenland. What I don't know. To me, I think my base instinct says people just don't believe it'll happen, and so don't see any problem with Trump threatening for it to happen. But like, fuck.
Trump may not, draw up an actual military strike against Greenland, but he does the next closest thing. He just keeps bullying and coercing people, and sending troops there without actually shooting anybody. Hey, we have a treaty. We can do this if we want. What's the big deal? I'm going to flood. Which, like you said, he could do. He's fully within the rights to. That's what bothers me about this. That whenever I bring this up, that conservatives will say, I don't see why you're so bent out of shape here. The United States has been purchasing territory for 200 years now. How do you think we got bigger outside of conquest? We bought half the country with the Louisiana Purchase. We bought Alaska. This is not weird. I said, yeah, if Trump just came out and said, I think it's a good idea for us to have Greenland, I'm going to try to make Denmark an offer they can't refuse, I couldn't be less interested. Like, okay, fine. If you think it's a good idea, whatever. I'm not going to. I would never be talking about it on my show or on my platform and everything. But he goes further than that, like a lot further than that, and they're okay with it. This is what I wish I had the clip up here, but Trump did a long speech today, and he was.
That's the understatement of the year, DJ.
I didn't see it, so I was at work, and I kept getting updates saying that, wow, this is bonkers. This is the most insane thing I've ever seen. So I haven't seen it in its entirety. But I have seen little clips here and there. And son of a bitch, he stole one of my jokes. I was going to say something like, I had a bunch of examples written down that if Trump came out tomorrow morning and said, I'm renaming the Washington Monument to the Trump Washington Monument, or I'm renaming Washington, D.C. to Trump, D.C., or this is not the White House anymore, it's the Trump House. One, would anybody be surprised? No one would be surprised to see this. Like, oh, yeah, of course Trump would do this. And two, how many Republicans do you think would support it? I think that they all would. I think that it would be 70% support for this on the first day. The second day, it'd be 85. And when he said in this speech that, hey, I wanted to name the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Trump, and my assistants told me, hey, that's not a good idea. It's not a good look. And he said, I'm joking. I don't think he was joking. I 100% believe that he wanted to name it the Gulf of Trump. And I am calling, he is going to do something like that before. Like some big monument, some city, maybe a state. Who cares? He's going to do something like that. And every Republican knows he's going to fall in line because there's no real guiding principle to this. Is that Trump is our guy. We're going to back him no matter what.
TJ, like if there, I find it funny when conservatives argue that he won't do that or that he's joking. It's like, if there's one thing we knew about Donald Trump before he entered politics, it's that he liked putting his name on shit.
Yeah,
like that was his MO for decades. He just slapped Trump, Trump Steaks, Trump University, every building had Trump on it. That's his thing. So to make the argument that you think he's joking about that is just borderline insane, even for MAGA. It's crazy to actually think that, but yeah, they will fall in line. And honestly, I don't give a shit. We'll change it back. Like it doesn't matter to me. It's more so the principle that one would support a leader who's so clearly and obviously narcissistic. Like, I don't know why you would say, okay, that's if it's like, it doesn't really matter. I don't care. I can talk to you about that. That's fine. But I support this. Like, you're an insane person. Agolf Twitler brought up a good point here that I wanted to
ask the show
about. Friend of the show, Agolf Twitler, says he wants to end NATO. He wanted to end NATO in his first term. TJ, I was apprehensive of supporting the theory that Trump is a compromised Russian asset, that Trump and Putin are actually aligned. I thought that Trump liked Putin because he likes how Putin is a strongman dictator and is buddy chummy with him, but like isn't actually working in line with him, just has a sort of similar worldview of how the world should operate. I don't know if that's the case anymore, because we always talk about conspiracy theories on this show and how they have to pass the Occam's razor test. And the simplest explanation for why Trump wants to own Greenland, it's approaching he wants to break up NATO, especially the way he's going about it. Like, if he just wanted to acquire it for its natural resources to exploit it, cool. He could do that by buying it, probably, for less overall treasure.
He could just grant permits to companies to do it now. Nothing
exactly. Like there's so many ways. If he wanted to acquire it just for like his own name brand value, he also could just do so by buying it, and everyone would support him. The only reason that makes sense, other than he's trying and attempting to break up NATO by threatening military action, is that he just thinks threatening military action is cool and makes him look strong, which is still probably the most rational explanation. But if he was trying to break up NATO, I couldn't think of a better way to do it.
I don't know if I'm fully there yet. One thing I've said like over the last 10 years, I think Trump's a bad guy, but I don't believe he's a Russian spy. I've said that a lot of times. Yeah, because the thing is that you're right. He has wanted to tank NATO for a long time. He shit talks NATO every chance he gets, but that's not terribly different than any other Republican. They always whine about the fact that the richest country in the world pays the most to maintain the system. Weird how that works. I don't know why that's a shock to them. And I think that I don't know. I'm still kind of in a more childish way with Trump, because the only thing that gives me pause is that he really wants Canada too, and that doesn't really involve like tanking NATO or anything, right? It's just I think that I haven't heard any saber rattling on the whole Canada acquisition thing, which he's still on that train. Like, I don't know if you saw the picture he posted last night where it showed the United States in red, white, and blue, and Canada and Greenland. I'd actually forgotten that he was trying to get Canada. I completely slipped my mind. And so maybe he's trying to tank NATO, but I mean, the same stuff you probably thought too, is that he does seem to be friendly with Putin. He seems to kind of be chummy with him, but he doesn't seem quite chummy enough for me. Like, he's definitely in his pocket. I don't know.
Yeah. So Naughty Heathen brings up the point. He could just leave NATO and NATO would be screwed. Which, he could. I guess he could. He could do anything. But if Donald Trump says the United States is no longer part of NATO, I guess that's real. Does that not have to be approved by Congress? I actually don't know that.
I'm gonna guess it has to be approved by the Senate, because international treaties need to be approved by the Senate. So
yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm gonna guess the Senate would have to do it.
And the Senate would not be able to do that.
I mean, if Trump told them to, I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if they did.
There's enough senators that like aren't going to break with NATO. That like even there was a Republican senator, I forget his name, who like staunchly came out. Oh, actually, no, it was a House of Representatives guy, but he staunchly said like, if we invade Greenland, that
was Kennedy said that, of all people, I think.
Yeah, no, like NATO's a thing that is important to America, and like. The Republican senators will go along with a lot of shit. I don't think, because it only takes what, 4 of them to peel off,
like 3 to
stop Trump from doing that. So I think that we'd be able to peel off 3 or 4 Republican senators in order to stop him from leaving NATO. Could he just say we're not part of NATO anymore, and I will not invoke military action in defense of other countries? Sure, he could do that.
Yeah,
but that would make him look weak.
And the problem he'd be facing is like the same problem he's facing now, that Europe is saying that if you go through with this, illegal, offensive, and completely unnecessary action, we're going to divest all of our money from the United States. And we cannot afford that. We can't afford to just have Europe withdraw all of their euros, from our economic system. So yeah, Trump's kind of stuck right there. But then again, this is always Trump. It's always the same thing. Could it just be like, could the Republicans be right? Could it just be goofy theater? Because he's done it before. But he just seems so fucking obsessed with this man. I mean, for years he's been talking about this. Like we didn't even talk about that letter, that private letter. That kind of tanks that argument that the letter was not for the public. For those who wonder what I'm discussing, he sent a letter or a text to the Prime Minister of Norway, not Denmark. Norway. And the prime minister said, hey man, what can we do with this Greenland situation? Like, I'd like to talk to you and try to work something out. And Trump's response, I'm paraphrasing here, but it's not far off. It's like 90% accurate, where he said, since Norway oh, you got it. Okay. Let me see. I gotta maximize this. Read it. Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be preeminent, but can now think. I can't read this, John. I'm sorry. It's small. Can you read
although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect the land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right of ownership anyway? There is no written documents, and it's only that a boat landed there hundreds of years ago, and we had boats landing there, comma, also, period. I have done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, Donald J. Trump. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is just an excellent letter through and through. The line, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace. Spitting bars, man. Like when I read that, I was like, wow, that's like something a movie villain would say.
Yeah, right.
Like genuinely well done. I mean, terrible human being you are for saying that, and a terrible fucking leader, but great fucking bars. Well written. Unlike the rest of this letter, which is unbelievable that a sitting head of state would send this to another sitting head of state, as it is completely fucking childish language.
Yeah,
other than that one line, which is excellent.
Childish is the perfect word for it. That's like, I know we've been saying this for the better part of a decade now, but it is deeply embarrassing how unserious this nation is, that we elected this guy to the White House twice. That, say what you want about government corruption and misdeeds and all that, fine, but I think, who was it? Was it the French president saying that, maybe we should at least have the pretense of manners and stuff here? Or I guess manners is the wrong thing, but this guy is a child. This is like the 12-year-old would write this letter. And I want to point out him saying, I do think it's funny when he said it's theirs because a boat landed there 300 years ago. Funny. And I actually texted John the last night or the night before, I can't remember, because on Trump's Truth Social account, he wrote that Denmark has done a terrible job taking care of Greenland. Denmark is not up to the task of defending Greenland against the Chinese or the Russians. Their entire national defense budget covers 2 dog sleds, one of which was added recently. That is solid gold comedy. I hate how funny Trump is, but I laughed my ass off when I read that, because that's something I would say. That is exactly a joke I would make, and I fucking loved it. But yeah, him saying, that's another question you can ask Republicans. Hey, are you okay with Donald Trump, like, privately, right? This isn't like bluster for the crowd. He's privately threatening the leader of Norway because his feelings are hurt that he didn't win a Nobel Prize, and complaining to a guy who's like part of the government, not the Nobel Prize Committee. Are you okay with that? Of course, the answer is yes. Of course, the answer is yes. There's no bottom.
Yeah, and the other thing about this is that this letter makes it pretty fucking clear. I don't know if Donald Trump knows the difference between Norway and Denmark. Like, if you put the lasso of truth around Donald Trump right now, I would give even odds that he doesn't know they're 2 different countries.
Oh, who knows? Who knows?
Which, to be fair, I get them confused all the time. I'm not sitting on my high horse here, but also I'm not the head of state.
You confuse Denmark and Sweden?
I mean, Norway? All Scandinavian countries are the same to me. Like, I'm sorry, guys. I'm not a well-cultured a European here. I don't know the difference between Scandinavian countries.
Confusing Norway and Sweden, I got it. They're right next to each other. They're shaped the same. But Denmark's like on the mainland. It's I don't know.
TJ, you know that bit? You ever seen the bit that John Oliver does where he puts like a country on the map and he's like, and most Americans don't even know where this country is, and to prove that, this hasn't even been the country. It's actually this one.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
If you just laughed at that, well, it's actually here, dumbass. And like, I fall for it every time. I don't know. I don't know my geography very well. It's not my strong suit.
Have you seen? There's a man in the street interview like this where they have just a map of the world and it's reversed. Like the Western Hemisphere is on the right and the Eastern's on the left, to confuse you a little bit more, which I think is kind of clever. But it's just a blank map and they point to random countries and it's like, All right, can you say what this is? No. Okay, can you name any country in Asia? And they're like, can you name any country in Africa? No. It's of course those are set up. They pick out the worst ones for the humor, but it's disturbing that, I don't know. Geography is kind of funny. I'm sorry, I got off course there. When I said that I was hoping you had the same trivia fact that I did, you didn't actually. It was a different one. The trivia fact that I was going to bring up is this is not the first time the United States has negotiated with Denmark to buy property from them. And that last happened, I think, in 1917 or 1918 when we bought the West Virgin Islands from them. And those of you out there may have heard of this because one of them, I think it's called what is it called? St. Lucy's, but it's Epstein's Island. We bought Epstein's Island from Denmark.
No way.
105 years ago. Shit you not. I shit you not, Sean. It's that is my favorite trivia fact about this. Yeah.
Wow, that is so funny. I mean, that's just a coincidence, but it's very funny. Naughty Heathen says it's fake news. So I don't even know why you're calling that fake news. It's totally
not
uncontroversial news. But Naughty Heathen also says it's true. If Russia or China invaded Greenland, who would defend it? It's in the U.S. sphere of influence, so we would have to defend it because it's an existential threat to national security. Agreed. That's why we have a defensive pact with Denmark that we can put military assets in Greenland whenever we want in order to defend it. This already exists. We already have the right to do this. We already negotiated this. Owning the land, having it as our sovereign territory is completely unnecessary and has nothing to do with national defense. And he says he's trolling Europe. He's sending a message. What message?
What message?
In private.
In private to your allies. Yeah.
Why would he be trolling our friends? The people, if we get attacked, they're going to come and help us. They're our biggest economic trading partners. I don't even understand why is he trolling? What is there to troll? What is the point? What is he trying to get from them? None of this has been explained.
Yeah. And Kobe commented that the island is called, called Little St. James. Yeah, that's the island. I actually pulled it up because I wanted to make sure I got this right here. But yeah, the U.S. bought the Virgin Islands of St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. Where's St. James? Little St.
I'm sorry, Kobe just made another perfect point. Russia can't even take Ukraine, and we can calm down them doing anything across the water. Yeah, no, I'm not particularly worried about Russia. When Russia invaded Ukraine, TJ, I thought it would be like, oh my God, this is a catastrophe.
Super embarrassing for Russia.
I'm so not scared. Obviously they have nukes, that can be scary.
Why would they do that though?
Why would they do that? They haven't done it in Ukraine. Why would they do it here?
Yeah, this is. If there's anything I'm not afraid of, actually, it's major powers going to nuclear war. It's insane that this, or certainly not small ones like North Korea or Pakistan.
Certainly more afraid of it than I was a year ago, TJ.
I'm not. I just what's in it for anyone? I don't know. It's one of those. But I have. Oh shit, where'd it go? Someone mentioned that. This is important because Greenland is kind of a halfway mark between the United States and Russia, and that Russia could launch intercontinental ballistic missiles. Have you seen that diagram? I've seen it shared a lot on Twitter and everything, where it shows all the pathways from Russian missile sites to Washington, D.C., because they'd attack D.C. with nukes or whatever. And they said, well, we need Greenland so we can put air defense capabilities up there. No, that's not where you would put air defense. I don't expect anybody to know this because I actually worked with missiles, but I wouldn't expect anybody to know this. But that's going to be in the zenith. That's going to be at the highest point. You don't want to put the actual Golden Dome shit you have there. You're going to put it a little bit further back. But yeah, it's just.
Wait, so where this is interesting because you actually know you're here. If we were to create a Golden Dome missile defense system in order to stop a ICBM from Russia, Greenland would not be
the spot for it, because that's when the missiles are at their highest point. You want to catch them coming down. That's when you want to catch them. And so you're not going to catch them coming up. And so you're just wasting fuel and time if you're going to chase them up into space. So yeah, it's just not how that shit works. How these missile systems works is pretty interesting too. That you imagine it's there's two types of air defense missiles. There's the PAC-1s that are essentially bullets. You got the missile flying and then another missile hits it. Incredible we can do that. Incredible that we can do that. Or an enemy aircraft. And whenever you watch a movie and you see the pilot in a jet and he has that a marker on his dashboard going off saying, you're locked by a missile, and they use evasive maneuvers, that's not a thing. That is not a thing. Once you are locked by a missile, it's over. It's done. That missile flies at several times the speed of sound, faster than the plane could ever fly, and it's smaller, so it can turn quicker too. You might be able to like throw out some flares to change your heat signature, but it's probably not going to happen. And the other type is even better. This one's more for planes than for missiles, but you launch the missile and it turns into a shotgun that, like, you got the plane flying here, because the missile is not designed to destroy the plane, it's designed to kill the pilot. So the missile will fly past the plane, come back, open a canister and fire like a giant shotgun into the cockpit and kill the pilot. That's how those work. But
that's so cool.
It is really cool.
I mean, it terrifying, but cool.
Terrifying. So yeah, you got to eject. That's the only way you're surviving that. So yeah.
Oh my God. So Naughty Heathen says they don't want an insurgency. Are you saying like we don't want an insurgency of Greenlanders? Like that's why we need to own Greenland? Because if that's the case, are you suggesting that Donald Trump is going to ethnically cleanse the population of Greenland? Like, is that what you're suggesting? Are we escalating this to further war crimes? And Colby brings up a great point. And China wants Taiwan way more than Greenland.
Way more.
And that's fucking true. That's a great point. Is that if China's going to attack a territory to acquire rare earth metals, it's going to be Taiwan. It's going to be Taiwan. In fact, there's actually many parts around them that they could attack and conquer if they wanted to. Greenland would be the last on the list. Like there's no reason for China to attack Greenland. Russia, you could make the argument that Russia can attack the US through the Arctic Ocean, and therefore Greenland's important. You can at least make that argument. China being involved in this makes no sense. Also, China is like the least militaristic superpower. Like they don't really use their military in any acts of it. Like, when's the last time China attacked anyone? You can make many criticisms of Chinese policy and things that happen in their own country, but I can't remember any time China has ever threatened anyone in modern history.
Yeah. There's no real sense worrying about there. And I was gonna say that about Greenland, I can't remember. It was about that's right. The rare earth minerals and stuff people are talking about. I had an idea before we started the show. I was at work. I should have been working, but I had to say, I'm going to look over some positive points of us annexing Greenland. We get another star on the flag. It'd be kind of cool. The map changes and everything. But what are their main exports? Like what is this cool shit that Greenland is exporting to the rest of the world? John, their number one export are fish fillets. That is their number one export. And just under $1 million a year, nothing. And their second biggest export, I think, is shrimp and prawns or something. That's it. That they have nothing going on there. There are lots of deposits of these minerals that are really important, but no one's digging them up. We're not digging them up. Denmark's not digging them up. And the reason that no one is because they're covered by 1,000 feet of ice. And no one wants to go through that and say, it's kind of like the Venezuela situation where, okay, it's there, but the work we would need to put in to getting this out of the ground is not worth it. You might as well mine shit in space. It's going to cost you more money than you're going to make from it. So nothing that Trump says here lines up or makes any sense. That's a fantastic point, Colby. I'm so mad I didn't think about that with Ukraine, that John and I have been saying for a long time that Russia essentially stalemating Ukraine for all these years is like a 2 beating a 9. Like if a 2 ties, a number 2 seed ties the number 9 seed, the number 9 seed won. There's not a tie at all. The number 9 seed, they'll kick their ass. So yeah, I'm not too worried about Russia.
And Colby brought up another. Well, okay. So first of all, I disagree with the assessment that Greenland isn't worth acquiring. I think I said this early on when Trump first said we need Greenland. Like back, this was a year ago when he first took the. I don't know if it was like after inauguration or before, but this is when he started this whole shtick. And I think he even mentioned it in term 1.
Yeah, he did. He did mention term 1.
I am all for acquiring Greenland. Like, you're right. Right now, those minerals are inaccessible. But that's right now. The Arctic is... What was that?
Global warming, baby.
Global warming, baby. The Arctic is going to become a major trade route at some point, probably just due to global warming. And if it doesn't happen due to global warming, it'll happen because of just advances in human technology. We're going to be able to get that fucking shit out from Greenland at some point. I don't know if it's 10 years from now. I know Elon Musk would say it's 10 years from now, but it could be 30 years from now, 40 years from now, 50 years from now. There are plenty of good reasons to acquire. I think it's a great for whatever the price tag is, whatever it is, as long as it's not like it would destroy our economy, it's probably a good idea to buy Greenland. And so like that's often something people will say to me when they're trying to be the reasonable Republicans, like, oh, well, actually, it'd be very important. So all these mineral assets and trade routes. And I'm like, yeah, no, cool. You want to buy Greenland? I'm all on board. I'm cool with it. I don't care if Trump does it. I don't care if he calls it Trump Greenland. I really do not care. All I care about is the fact that he's threatening military force to conquer it against our ally. That's the problem that I have. It's the threat. And then they're like, oh, well, he hasn't actually done that. He's just using that as a negotiation tactic. And like, a threat isn't a negotiation tactic.
What is wrong with you?
Like what is wrong with you? Like, I know that obviously Trump supporters have problems understanding what consent is, but I feel like you should be able to understand this one, bro. I feel like if like I was like, sell me your house, and you said no, and then I put a gun to your head, and I was like, I'm willing to use this.
Yeah.
Sell me your house. You would think that that wasn't a consensual fucking contract you just signed.
No, but like we said, they're fine. That's why it's I've gotten to the point where I avoid arguing with Trumpers all the time now, because getting them down to their first principles is disappointing and pointless, right? Honestly, it's like, oh yeah, like what's the guy here said? No, don't buy it. Take that shit. Okay, so there you go. Like then just say that.
Like you just take shit. Just steal shit.
Don't bother trying to rationalize it. If you're saying if we have the guns, we should be able to take it if we want it. And look, if that's your point of view, fine. But don't try to put lipstick on this pig and say, "Whoa, this is actually justified." It's not, and you know it.
Just be honest. Like just be honest. We will respect you more. Naughty Heathen. You're relatively new here. I think I've seen you before, but you haven't commented this much ever. So we appreciate you being here. This is our Q&A show. This is time for it. However, we respect logical consistency. We always say we respect the fucking religious zealots who are absolute crazies way more than the fucking creasters who like pretend they follow the religion when they really don't. Like that's how we operate over here. So if you're going to make the argument, hey, might equals right, we deserve to have it because we can take it, I think there's a lot of moral problems with that. I can make a lot of arguments of how that is not a good long-term strategy for national success, but at least we're being honest with each other now. But if you're going to make this argument that like that is just normal, like that's just something that the United States of America, well, okay.
I mean, it's not.
But at least we weren't straight, like,
right? Yeah.
Like it's not.
No one's proud of that shit, right?
Yeah, right. But yeah, no, it's fucking wild. I don't. I'm not. So naughty Heathen says he's not a Trumper. This is just common sense. Yeah, sure. It's just might equals right. Like you're saying, it's common sense that if you're able to like just steal something from someone, you should do it. That's common sense because that's like basic fucking kindergarten level bad shit morality. Like it's very confusing.
Yeah, there's a wild difference between we can take it and we should take it, and the fact that you're settling on we should take it for no other reason than we can makes me think that you are a Trumper. Of course you are. That there's nothing Trumpers love saying more than I'm not a big fan of Trump. He does a lot of things I don't like, but man, did you hear about those men in dresses? Well, what about that, folks? This has got to go. We need to conquer Greenland and bomb Iran, or conquer Venezuela and bomb Iran. By the way, we haven't heard anything about Venezuela lately. What's going on there? Right? What's the plan here?
We said the fucking. Was it best? Like someone said, like, yeah, no, we are taking all of their oil exports. Like that is what a White House official said. I forget who it was, but like, yeah, apparently at least the Trump administration thinks that we are now running Venezuela and that we are stealing all of their oil. And everyone is kind of just like, I don't know, maybe. And it's very confusing.
Yeah, I don't know if I buy that. I don't think there was a huge plan. I mean, I do believe that, what was that story that he has $100 million from Venezuelan oil sent to Saudi Arabia? I think I saw something about that. But this also, I have to commend Trump for his just brazen graft in that I've never seen someone more corrupt. And listen, this is in politics, right? Politicians are not known for their honesty. And Donald Trump finds ways to just scheme and grift and get billions of dollars. It is really funny.
It for the love of the game, TJ.
It really does. And it's so funny that they spent years screeching that Joe Biden's son got a job he wasn't qualified for at an oil company in Ukraine. That was explosive news. But Trump making billions of dollars in meme coins, untraceable money from God knows which foreign investors, all these scams he's selling, like Trump watches and Trump Bibles that he's selling for $1,000 a pop. The only people that the rubes aren't buying that shit. It's foreign investors. All the pardons he has, pardons from people he admits he doesn't know. Why do you think he's doing this? They're paying him off. And they're like, yeah, of course, go get him, boy. If I could do it, I would. It's like, once again, like, if that's what you think, fine, but try to be consistent.
So Naughty Heathen, you're going to be a fan of the show. He's saying the Monroe Doctrine isn't a new thing. How much of North America gets brought? Naughty Heathen, we are the #1 podcast in the world when it comes to talking about the Monroe Doctrine. Look it up. Just look it up. It is a true fact. And we fucking love talking about it here. But here's the thing. We think it's bad. There's no logically consistent way to say, oh, yeah, this entire hemisphere, it is ours. All of these countries do not have sovereignty. They are ours. They do not get to make their own decisions. The will of their people is irrelevant. We get to dictate what military alliances they have. That's wrong. And you know how I know it's wrong? Because if Russia tried to do it to us, you would say that that's fucking bullshit. If Mexico tried to stop us from like doing something militaristically, you'd say, no, they shouldn't be able to do that. The only reason that we're able to is because might equals right, which again, if you're saying that's your philosophy, that's fine. That's your personal philosophy. But most Americans do not agree might equals right. It just is not what the standard person believes walking around on the streets here.
Appealing to the Monroe Doctrine is an especially hilarious fridge temperature IQ. It's just like, I'm gonna appeal to this thing James Monroe said in 1830 or something. And since James Monroe said it, this isn't an act of Congress. This isn't a bill. It's not a law. It's just a philosophy that James Monroe said when he couldn't cash the checks he was writing. Like, we were in no position to say, we control North and South America. Nobody else can interfere here. If Britain or France or anyone wanted to challenge us on, there's not shit we could do. It's no different than saying Greenland is ours because of manifest destiny. Manifest destiny says we should have Greenland, so we should get it. It's identical. There is no difference in that shit at all. Okay, I wonder
if James Monroe thought that like one day the Monroe Doctrine would be enforceable. Like, I wonder if like when he said that shit, he was like, one day this will be true, and I'm just gonna bluster and fake it till we make it. Or if he just like, I never thought that this would be the case today.
I have a theory on this with James Monroe and the Monroe Doctrine that I just thought of right now. But I think that James Monroe was just trying to start shit because he could. That's what I think. Because if you guys know anything about James Monroe presided over what's called in United States history the era of good feelings, where, hey, the War of 1812 is over, the Barbary pirate shit is over, we've got the Louisiana Purchase now, we got a bunch of money flowing in, we're not worried about the Brits anymore, the French are out of the hemisphere. And James Monroe won I can't remember if his first or second election, he won getting every electoral college vote except one. He ran away with the election. It was a happy time. Everyone loved James Monroe. And I bet he was sitting there thinking, I need like some drama here. I need a nemesis. Like, this job's too easy. I clawed my way up to the president. I just sit in my office and don't do shit. I know. I will say the Western Hemisphere belongs to us, just to kind of kick up some dirt. And here we go. 200 years later, we're all acting like it's a serious thing. It's kind of funny.
I think that's true. Before we, I see you're about to pull something up. I had two comments I had to mention here. One is Agolf Twitler again saying MAGA thinks they're playing Risk.
Yeah.
Like it's some kind of board game. No, it's not Risk. This is a very, I believe this 100%. They're playing Civ. Like that, right? Especially Stephen Miller, what he's saying makes perfect sense if you're playing a game of Civilization. We have built up our military, and it is by far our greatest differentiator among our competition. But maybe our economy, but our military is so much better. It makes no sense for us not to utilize those resources to acquire more resources. And obviously, we should acquire land in the northern part of the map that's going to have all of these goody resources. Like, we just know you're going to have all of these future resources that are very essential to the late game up in those northern places that you can't inhabit in the early game. And so we're going to acquire this now while we have the military superiority, and it's going to pay dividends later. That's fucking Civ. That is the game that they are playing. I don't know how many Civ fans are in our audience, but this is like a Civ strategy to a fucking T.
It's a really dumb one, though, when you are a close, friendly ally with the nation that owns that land, who has granted you essentially blanket access to the island. Says,
there's no reason to use that. In a game of Civ, I wouldn't use the military force to do this. I would just put my troops there, and there's nothing they would do about it because we have an open borders agreement.
Yeah, they let you do it. Just, if you're worried about it, just go ahead and put your troops there. We're fine. Just hang out. You guys can leave. We pulled out a bunch of troops over the years. There's almost no one left. There is one military base there in Greenland, but they're like,
military base it is, CJ? What branch of the military operates in Greenland?
Oh, I don't know. Is it the Army?
It's Space Force.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. All right. I didn't know that. Space Force? Are you shitting me?
I'm not shitting you.
Space Force. I hate how annoyed I am with the Space Force existing. For the Space Force is kind of absurd to me because, I don't know, it's no more ridiculous than the Air Force, because the Air Force used to be part of the Army. Back in World War II, you only had the Army, Navy, and Marines. And then the Army had an Air Corps. All the planes were Army Air Corps. And then in 1946, they said, okay, the Army Air Corps is its own branch now. It's the Air Force. The chairborne Rangers, the cowards, a lot of them, dropping from the sky when they could be on the ground like real soldiers. But then they took like Army has Space Command too, and the Navy I assume has one too, and they kind of like combine those efforts. This is a new branch now, the Space Force, to stop threats from space, which we already had capabilities to do. Sorry, but yeah, this is if you want to buy it, if you want to lease it, if you just want to go there, Denmark would have let you do it, no questions asked. If there was even the slightest threat that Russia, for some reason, was going to divert resources from Ukraine and go after Greenland, we could be there quicker than they were. And our allies in Europe. There's just no reason to do this. It's really dumb. Okay.
That's another great point of that. Like the fact that Trump is winding down funding Ukraine, like that is our best defense against Russia. It's just having them continue to fight Ukraine. Like if you're saying Russia is a national security threat, the best thing we can do is create another front for them to keep fighting on. Like that's the best way to defend ourselves from Russia. I don't know. It's fucking crazy. What were you pulling up here, TJ?
All right. This is, since we only have like 10 minutes left, I just want to pull this up because it was funny. I can't remember this lady's name. What is her name? Brooke Rollins, the Secretary of Agriculture. I actually got on Threads, John. You'll happen here, and I saw you post this video the Department of Agriculture was sharing with milk and everything. Mm-hmm. And I went to their Twitter page, John, it's like 30 posts about whole milk. I don't know what the fuck is going on. It's so weird. But
glad we're talking about the milk.
Yeah. But this thing came out a couple of days ago, and this lady is talking about the affordability crisis and how people are not making enough money to make ends meet. And have you seen this, John?
I didn't watch this video, but I know what it's about.
Okay, let's go.
I think the question you're asking, and it's a really important one, is while we're asking Americans to reconsider what they're eating, are we actually asking Americans, especially those who are living on the margins, are we asking them to spend more on their diet? And the answer to that is no. We've run over 1,000 simulations. It can cost around $3 a meal for a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli, corn tortilla, and one other thing. And so there is a way to do this that actually will save the average American consumer money.
You've done the analysis on that, because that's one of the criticisms I heard from some, nutrition folks who said, like with the event you mentioned, all the protein, saying, all right, well, steak, obviously, it's expensive. So are you asking people to spend more money with these new dietary guidelines than in the past? Do you say no?
That's right. And the answer to that is absolutely no. Now, there are, as most things are coming down, there are a few outliers. Beef has been one of them, but ground beef is coming down. But
okay, John, what were your thoughts when you first heard how easy it is to buy a full meal for, I'm assuming, an adult? I didn't just thought of that. Like maybe she was talking about children, but even like a very small child is a piece of chicken, a piece of broccoli. Has anyone in the history of humanity sat down with a plate with a piece of broccoli and ate it? And then a flour tortilla. By the way, these are 3 ingredients that don't make anything. There's no food that you can make that has flour tortillas, a flour tortilla, a corn tortilla, broccoli, and a piece of chicken of undefined part of and one mystery thing, one other thing. What are your thoughts, John?
So I know that can't be what she was supposed to say. Like, there's no way that they actually sat down. Like they wrote out a script and they were like, this is the meal. Fucking a piece of chicken, one piece of broccoli is so funny. One piece of broccoli is the funniest part, except for then the next one is a tortilla. You know, we want to promote these strong American foods. You know what Americans eat? Tortillas.
Like,
oh my God. It is so funny. It's such a faux pas. I mean,
communicating.
The thing with like grocery prices, TJ.
Yeah.
It doesn't. That's one of those things that Trump can't really lie about. Like, they're either going to be more expensive for people or they're not. Like he can lie about a whole bunch.
He does,
He can lie about Maduro. He can lie about Greenland. He can lie about tariffs being paid by other countries, and most Americans won't notice because that's not part of their day-to-day lives. But when the grocery bill goes up, they're gonna fucking notice. Like, it's not something that can be hidden. And so the fact that he's trying to lie his way through this is very funny, especially considering that like this was Joe Biden's downfall. Like this is specifically, other than his age, probably the biggest reason that he lost to the Democrats lost Donald Trump is that they refused to acknowledge the real economic pain that Americans were experiencing. Trump's just doing the same thing, and it's going to work just as well. And by that I mean it's not going to work.
It's not. I have another clip too. It's the same lady, and it's on a different interview, and she's trying to, do some damage control for making a fool of herself here, but I don't think it goes much better.
And you've done a wonderful job in terms of communicating how to do this and in a healthy way. But look, Secretary, you're getting heat all over social media for saying that you can eat healthy for $3. And some people say, well, how am I supposed to get a piece of chicken for under $3? You're trying to make this affordable as well. But sometimes eating healthy is not so affordable, right?
Well, it is interesting, the pushback. I think the pushback is probably because the left, the Democrats don't have much more to say other than that. But, chicken, poultry, vegetables, fruits, when you eat healthy, it actually is less expensive in many ways, depending on what you choose, less expensive than if you buy a fast food meal or if you eat a bag of Doritos or.
This is earth-shattering news, John. I don't know if you were aware of this, that door dashing all of your food is going to be more expensive than buying the raw materials and cooking them yourself. I'm glad you were sitting down for that. That was some pretty intense shit.
I don't know who this woman is. I hope she gets the thing. Like, it's funny, these clips, but like not like funny enough for me to actually want her to be around. Like, she's just terrible. She's terrible at her job. I don't know how she got it. But that's
a prerequisite.
DEI hire, right, TJ?
Yeah, that's a prerequisite for being on Trump's campaign. You got to be awful.
But she, like, what? This is such bullshit. So Colby brought up, did you see this? Oh my God, guys. Did you see Besson say our parents are retired?
Well, yeah, we'll get to that too.
5, 10, 12 houses. That is true. He said that. I actually have that here. We can play that clip as well.
All right, let me finish this one.
Okay, go ahead.
There's something that she says that I want to bring up.
If you eat a bag of Doritos or chips and have an energy drink, and that's really what we're trying to focus on here. And of course, the back end and the health benefits of all of it is really incredible. So we'll be putting more information out on that today. You'll see we've got hundreds of simulations that show that and different ways to put it together.
What the fuck is she talking about with doing thousands of simulations and hundreds of simulations, those 2 clips? What a weird thing to say. Well, the first time she said it, I kind of left like, okay, I don't know what that means. But she went out of her way to say it again. We're doing AI to see how much food. It's like, you can just study it. Like, this is not esoteric mystery information they're keeping from you. You don't need to send Grok out there to run. I don't even know what the simulation would look like. What does it mean that you're running a simulation to see how much food costs? I genuinely don't know.
I would love to see the simulation. I would love to see the simulation in action because that arrives at one piece of broccoli.
I don't think it's even a real thing. I think she's just saying it because saying we ran simulation sounds high tech, and the rubes are going to say, "Oh, well, of course, if the robot says it's true, then it must be." I think that's my guess.
I believe it, and I still can't get past that. Like, so are you buying like pieces of broccoli individually and then cooking them up one at a time? Like, I want to be clear here. I go, me and my wife, like we want to make a dinner together, so we each need. I need 2 pieces of chicken. Okay, that makes sense. I can cook 2 pieces of chicken, 2 tortillas. Okay, cool. They come in bags. We just cook them. The broccoli, TJ, the broccoli, where it's, am I putting 2 pieces of broccoli in that fucking pot? Am I opening a bag of frozen broccoli, taking 2 frozen pieces of broccoli out and putting them in the fucking pan? It's absolutely incredible. I can't.
It's so funny.
I can't even get enough of it.
A part of me, when I saw the first clip, the smallest part of me actually felt a tiny bit sorry for her, because I have been in a situation when I had a list in my head and then I got to the end of the list. It's like, oh, I don't remember what the 4th thing was. And I said something absurd, like, and one other thing you can eat. I can see that happening to anybody, but no, she didn't do much better the second time.
Who's the 2012 Republican primary candidate that was like, and I have a 3-part plan. The first thing's this, the second thing's this. I forget what
that was Rick Perry. Rick
Perry. Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic. I love that. Was just like, yeah, no, the 2012 Republican primary.
Deep pull, John. Deep pull. Wow, right, that's good right there.
Here's Scott Besson
Incredible.
saying just fucking playing the hits today, DJ.
Yep.
To give guidance at some point to see what is a mom and pop that someone, maybe your parents for their retirement, about 5, 10, 12 homes. So we don't want to push the mom and pops out. We just want to push everyone else out.
What do you mean for their retirement? They bought 5. I love it. 5 homes would have already been such a wildly out of touch thing to say. And then he goes 5, 10, 12. You know, how much does a home cost these days, Michael?
Yeah, John, I heard that. And at first, whenever clips end really quick like that, or they kind of start, it's like, oh, I bet this was like cut up and weird though. But I have a hard time imagining. Like, the full context is, let's say we're trying to push out the big folks, not the mom and pops, like your parents maybe, who bought multiple houses, half a dozen to a dozen, you know, and it's like, I don't, mom and pop isn't like a solid definition, but 5 houses is really pushing it. I would not call someone who owns 5 houses and rents them as a mom and pop. I sure as hell wouldn't call someone who owns a dozen homes mom and pop. That is a legitimate small business right there, making a good amount of money. But it's like Trump when saying, "Oh, what, your daughter doesn't need $32," because he doesn't know how many little kids. But he always said people buy stuff for his kids. He never bothered doing that shit. So yeah,
that's the thing. Like my landlord is mom and pop. They built this home. They built another home behind it, and they don't need this big home anymore, so they rent it out and they live behind it, and they have one property. That's a fucking mom and pop landlord. TJ is a mom and pop landlord. If you own 5 to 12
there was
buildings,
no reason you have to like bring. I could have volunteered myself, but John went out of his way to say, just so you guys know.
Well, TJ, you didn't fall on your sword, and therefore I had to push you on top of it. Even if I was being charitable and say, oh, he's talking to someone at the World Economic Forum, it makes sense that, like, I don't know, he thinks that person's rich and, you know, probably his parents that own a bunch of properties. I can be charitable in that sense, TJ. The thing is, as a political figure, you can never say dumb shit like that. Like, you can't. That's so obviously, like, yeah, I can be charitable and say, yeah, he would assume that, but like, no normal fucking person would ever. That thought would never cross their mind that anyone they're talking to would possibly have parents that own 5 to 10 to 12 homes for retirement. That is insane. Only fucking out of touch, insanely rich people would ever ponder that someone might own 12 fucking homes.
That is $6 million roughly. Assuming each house was $500,000. Maybe they bought it earlier, it was cheaper, but it's in the millions. Also, I thought of the funniest interpretation of this based on what you just said there. What would be really funny is if Scott Bessent like knows this interviewer. Like they're buddies. They go back a long way. He's like, oh yeah, his parents bought 12 houses. I remember that. And he's like making a personal example with him, and it just gets flamed. That would be really funny. I hope that's the case. That's kind of humorous.
Mark brings up an issue when he says, yeah, isn't mom and pop a small business? Isn't that what he's talking about? I'm gonna say, hand up, I might be wrong here. When I think of a mom and pop landlord, I think of someone who owned a home, moved out of it and downsized, and now rents that home out. Like a literal mom and pop. It's one location. You know, a small business doesn't have 12 separate locations that they like. That's no longer a small business. You are now very easily if you're doing multiple $1 million of revenue, which someone who owns 12 homes, unless you're a slumlord, in which case, I don't know, fuck you anyway. But like, you're talking multiple millions of dollars of overhead, if not tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars of overhead. You're not like, that's not mom and pop anymore. That's a mid-sized fucking business. Maybe I'm out of touch here in the landlord space. TJ, can you elaborate for me?
I don't know what state Mark lives in, but someone should send a paramedic to address that stretch in his arm right here. Yeah, you guys are throwing out 500K homes. What if they were 60K? Yeah, Mark, I'm sure that's it. I'm sure they bought these homes, 70 years ago.
And Mark,
these houses are not. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I cannot stress this enough. If you own 12 $60,000 homes, you are a slumlord piece of shit. No one owns $60,000 homes and rents them out who's like a good fucking upstanding person. That's not a normal behavior.
We can be charitable, and he did mention someone's parents. So let's say they bought these houses in, I don't know, the 60s or 70s when you could get that home for $6,000. It's no longer worth that. Anything you bought that long ago is worth 10 times as much. So yeah, I'm sorry, when you're sitting on $10-12 million, I'm not, once again, there's no like strict definition of what the cap is for small business, but it exceeds mine.
He says he's trying to contrast back up to the small business. I think you guys are. I don't consider mom and pop landlords to be running a business. Like they're running a business in the same way that I run a business with my fucking like social media brand, in that I make money doing it. But like, I don't think when people say mom and pop land, like that's not what they think. They think someone who moved out of their home and is renting it out now. Like it's not a business operation.
Mark, you're not like related to Scott Bessent or anything. You can just say he was out of touch here. If you assume like, hey,
DJ, we need to learn more about rental properties.
I own one. It's like I'm a mom and pop landlord. I have one house, right, and that I rent out. If I had 12, I would never in a million years have heard of something. That is a legitimate whatever. What are we doing here?
And Mark, either way, like it's not like a big deal. It's an out of touch thing to say. Like you should never let those words come out of their mouth.
Yeah, can you at least admit that? Yeah, that wasn't politically expedient to refer to someone who. If he'd have said that, yeah, BlackRock is different from someone who owns a house or two. That's what anyone would say. Admit it's fucking weird that he said 12 houses. That's it. Like, admit that it's weird. That's all we want. Man.
And that's not retirement savings. Again, he said retirement savings. He didn't say running a small business. He said they're retirement savings. They want. And again, if Joe Biden's Treasury Secretary said this, I'd be saying the same thing.
There's no way.
Same thing. And don't even dare accuse us of otherwise. Like, go back to the Biden years and watch the show, and you will see we would say the same exact thing. Yeah. We'd probably be even more critical of it, to be perfectly honest.
It is just so fucking. And when there's so many people who can't buy a house at all, and saying, well, who will think of the poor people who own 12 houses? What will they do? What will ever happen to them? That's insane. That's fucking insane. But
is he gay?
Wait, yeah, he is. No, I think you guys don't like gay Republicans. Mark, you're right. Okay. That's the first correct thing Mark has said in a long fucking time, man. Like you know what? He got it out of the way early this year, January 20th. I gotta say that was a hell of a job, Mark. We're proud of you, buddy. That was really good. Oh shit. Okay. I guess anything else, John?
So one last thing before we close up, a comment that was from the beginning of the show that I just have to address. Colby went. Quick question, John. I can't quite remember your wife's name. I didn't want to butcher it, but it starts with a Y, right? And I didn't want to answer on the show because I know I've said it, but we had a conversation. We don't want to put her name out there, right? So I didn't answer, and I wish I had. I did not realize it was a setup for a punchline, because then he followed it up later with, as in, why the hell would she marry you?
That's good. Damn, Colby is spitting fire today.
Good job, Colby. Good job.
That was fantastic. All right. Well, I guess that locks it up. There's a lot more clips there. Man, I can't believe we didn't play any clips from Trump's rambling.
It was just too much. Like maybe we'll do a little clip show on a segment on Thursday, but it was too much. It's just like so many incoherent topics. It would be a whole fucking show just to cover a couple clips. It's insane.
Yeah, him talking about playing Little League Baseball and saying he wanted to name the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Trump. And well, Mark, next episode we'll ask you this: if Donald Trump said he wanted to name the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of Trump, would you support it? I'm curious about that. I already know the answer, but we'll ask him next time. I'm sure. But all right, folks. Okay, do we have a guest on Thursday, John?
I don't think so. To be perfectly honest with you, TJ, I do not think so.
Okay,
but
right,
maybe we do, because there could be a surprise. We never know here in the left wing land.
All right,
we have a calendar, we just don't use it.
I know it's rough. It's rough starting this year, but all right, we'll catch you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Whew, man, John, I was